Welcome back, travelers, to Legendary Lore. And as you can see, I'm here with my shady friend and co-host, Joe. Joe, say hi.
Please stand up.
You are rather slim. Now, for today's Legendary Lore, we're going to kind of go back to a form of our original format. What I mean by that is that over the past few, I guess, series we've done of Legendary Lore, there's been a lot of just kind of telling you the story itself, like real big, long block stories per episode. This is going to be a rapid fire kind of thing, covering all of a series of legends from this set in particular, since it's a collection of a bunch of older characters and a few new ones that we'll get into at a different point. What's
This
important?
is Modern Horizons.
Yes, thank you, Joe. Modern Horizons 2. It says
Two.
it's exactly what it says on the
Not
tin
not two twos. It's 1 2, but I was just showing it
as
twice because
well.
it's two.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about Dakkon Blackblade, also known as Dakkon Shadow Slayer, and we're going to kind of just look into what his whole deal is. So this story takes place on Dominaria, which is the like big old place, right?
Mhm.
So Dakkon is a blacksmith. So already he's epic. And so he's working on his thing. He's like a renowned blacksmith, and everyone kind of recognizes his prowess. And he's a great warrior as well, but mainly his blacksmithing skills are legendary.
Lore.
And that's part of the reason why his blue, white, black creature card has power tokens based off of the land. The more land he has access to, the better the weapons he has become. Or at least that's
That
my
makes sense
reasoning for
now.
it. That they never said that, but that's my reasoning for it.
Oh, you're just a goon.
But in this this iteration of him, the Planeswalker form, we're going to talk about how he gets there. You see, Geyadrone Dihada is the most evil of evil witches, and
What did you just say to me?
So Geyadrone Dihada.
You're gonna need to send me the picture of this because I promise you I will not be able to remember that, spell that, pronounce that, think of that, fathom that, or anything involving that. What you just said.
She's one of the planeswalkers in this set, Joe. She's the Grixis planeswalker.
Oh, you could have just said that.
Okay, Dihada. We'll talk about her, okay? So
Oh.
Dihada shows up and she's like, me here, you making me a sword. And he's like, yeah, sure, I can make you anything. And so she tells him, I want you to make me a sword and I will give you immeasurable power beyond your wildest dreams. And the guys and Dakkon's kind of like, sure, why not? Why not? Like,
Dragon's just like, I take cash, but whatever you want.
So she told him, make me the strongest sword. You have 10 years to do it. And so Dakkon starts using like super dark magic to forge his blade. What he does, because you know how in the blacksmithing process, you have to fold the metal, right, to make it stronger.
Yes.
What he does is he folds his own blood into the steel. So the steel he's working with is blood steel. That's already making it kind of metal, right? Metal. This is metal, apparently.
I thought this was Modern Horizons 2. This has oh no, when you do it this way, it's metal. When you do it this way, it's Modern Horizons 2.
This is not metal, Joe. This is metal.
I don't know. I'm just doing what you're doing.
What's important is that Dakkon forges the Blackblade by not only folding his blood into the steel, but then stabbing people, like just hundreds and hundreds of people, in order to like, you know how you normally would put the sword into water to go and like tempers it?
Yeah.
He stabs people with it instead. So
Is
their
Dakkon
blood.
evil?
See, that's the thing, is he's kind of evil. He's using dark magic to do this because he wants immeasurable power. But at the same time, he's a blacksmith. It's just his job. He's doing his job. It's the classic thing of I was just following orders kind of thing.
So he's more chaotic neutral.
Yeah, you could say that. Chaotic neutral would work. So after 10 years, also, it's worth noting, he killed his own son as well to make this blade. He stabbed his son as like the finishing touch on this whole shebang.
It's like a bit of tragedy, and we're good.
My tears are in this blade too now. Now, she shows back up, and Dihada's like, look, where's my blade? And he gives it to her, the black blade. And she's like, oh, this looks really cool. Hey, what's that? He goes, what? And then she stabs his shadow. Because the weapon he built is a soul drinker. So when she stabbed his shadow, she bound his soul to the blade. And his planeswalker spark ignites. He was a planeswalker the entire time. He had that unfathomable power, and she ignited his spark by stabbing his soul, basically. Now,
He goes, oh, I could have just gone somewhere else to get the materials. Didn't have
see
to
this,
kill
but this
people.
is where Geyadrone Dihada kind of is really evil, because she knew exactly what she was going to do with this, and she shows throughout the thing that she's a corruptive influence. If you look at Dakkon prior, you could argue he was just white, maybe even just mono white, because he's a blacksmith, and maybe white blue if you wanted to talk about how he was a perfectionist with his craft. But Geyadrone shows up and she corrupts him, which is illustrated in the Planeswalker card itself with the corruption counters.
Oh, how
Now,
it's all sketchy and stuff.
yes, there is the alternative art of it. Now, what's interesting is that she does not stop there. She's not content with basically enslaving Dakkon because she turned him into a weapon. So she wanted to become even more powerful. And so she actually has Chromium Ruel as one of her minions.
Interesting.
You know who Chromium is, Joe?
Immutable.
Yes, he is one of Nicol Bolas' brothers. So it's worth noting, real quick, Vivictus Asmati was considered to be a cousin of Bolas' brood, right? So you had you had 5 dragons on their side of things, if you include Ugin, and then you had 7 dragons on Vivictus Asmati's side, and each of them technically could be considered to have also been 3-color dragons. They would have just been the opposite colors other than Vivictus. So that's where Piru comes in. Piru, coming from the other brood, and Chromium
Piru
were broodmates, which obviously means they were mated. And from them, there were a ton of dragons. Basically, Crosis. You know who Crosis the Purger is? He was the Grixis dragon. He was one of their brood. He's descended from Chromium and Piru, which is kind of awesome in its own way. So while Dakkon is enslaved, Dihada is causing all kinds of just horrible things to happen across Dominaria. And this is before the Brothers' War. So this is before Urza and Mishra and their whole deal actually happened.
Interesting.
This is like old story stuff. We're going to have another story, another episode about an even older timeline with a character. But right now we're talking about this one. So
Ronald Reagan.
So while this is happening,
it's a pretty old story.
She winds up destroying a place called Carth. And there's a kid, an orphan. He gets imprisoned. His name is Carth the Lion. While he's imprisoned, he's there. He has to watch Solkanar. Solkanar is, of course, a Morrow.
The city where Darkwing Duck lives.
What is the name of the city of Darkwing Duck lives?
St. Canard.
Cool. Well, Solkanar is basically like Multani or Molimo, where he was a Morrow creature, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, he was corrupted by Geyadrone Dihada. And when she did that, he became the Grixis monster that is from the Legends storyline. Because this is all Legends. It's all from the time of Legends, which is one of the oldest sets. That's why it's so old. These are Legends. So what's important is that Solkanar kills the entirety of Carth the Lion's family. The reason he's called Carth the Lion, by the way, is going to be revealed very soon. And it's kind of cool. So while
is he in any way related to Jared Carthalion?
Yeah, we'll get there, Joe. We'll get there. Anyway.
My psychic?
So Carth is at this point still trapped. And this old man comes up to him. He's like, yeah, you should kill Geyadrone Dihada. And he's like, well, how am I going to do that? I can't do anything. And at this point, you can see him as just being mono green, but he's more likely green-black, just as he is in his card. He really wants vengeance. He's super angry at the fact that Geyadrone Dihada slaughtered his entire family and basically upset the balance of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this old coot basically says, hey, look, if you do this special spell, you'll be able to summon a weapon that is capable of killing Geyadrone Dihada. And obviously he's like, okay, let's do it. So he does it, and he summons Dakkon Blackblade. And Dakkon is super upset because he had been left alone for a while. No one had been messing with him. Even Dihada had left him alone. Mm-hmm. And so when he shows up here, he's like, Why did you summon me? I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to absorb your soul into my sword. And the moment Dakkon tries to do it, it doesn't work. Like he physically is incapable of killing Carth. And so he's basically forced to be his slave now, Carth's slave. And they go on an adventure and all this other stuff happens. And along the way, they become friends. And Dakkon starts calling him Carth the Lion because of his ferocity.
This is kind of like how me and Ricky met. I remember when I got summoned by an old man to Ricky's side and then he enslaved me.
And you kept trying to kill me, but you couldn't. Now, what's important is that this is where the whole thing about Piru and Chromium comes in.
Okay.
While they're trying to stop the whole thing that Dihada is doing, her big scheme, they have to fight Piru and Chromium. And while this whole fight is happening, they're able to exile Chromium, and then Dakkon kills Piru. But you have to remember,
killing Elder Dragon's a huge deal back then?
It's a huge, huge deal. It's not as simple as Doomblade and Velomachus kind of thing. This is like a legit...
Check us out on Bots Watch Live if you want to see anything like that.
This is a massive thing that happens. And when it does, Chromium is obviously gone, but Piru's soul is so powerful, and obviously Elder Dragon energy is so massive that it's just causes a crack in Dominaria's crust to the modern age. There's a thing called the Dueling Chasm of Karandor, which is it's in Karandor, and it's where Piru was killed by Dakkon. And it's just this massive explosion. Kind of like where Ugin died on Tarkir, how he left a giant chasm because an Elder Dragon died and left that amount of power. But that's not where all the power went. The majority of it was immediately siphoned into Dihada because she had planned from the start for Carth the Lion to go on to this huge mission and finally get to Piru, kill, she was hoping, both Chromium and Piru, but it wound up just being Piru, which is more than enough. It's Mardu power. Fantastic. So with that, she is now basically uber powerful because remember, she was already an old walker, so she was strong enough. But with that, she became insane.
What is with Grixis walkers and getting more powerful than they should be?
Now, this is what's really crazy, because every other time we've ever talked about these kinds of super uber evil characters, they have some huge flaw that gets exploited, right?
Uh-huh.
And so basically, Dihada, once she gets that power, she kind of just keeps wreaking havoc, and Dakkon and Carth the Lion just kind of work together trying to stop her, right? And he goes, you know what? Carth goes, you know what? I can't deal with Karandor. She's corrupted it way too much. I'm going to leave. So he goes to Terracer. Terracer is an important place because that plays into the whole Urza storyline. We'll get to that in a later episode. But at this point, this is where Carth settles down, and that's what they're called, the Carthalians, because he was Carth the Lion. The Carthalians are all of his descendants, including...
You guys want to hear about Jared Carthalion? You guys need to subscribe and check our backlog of legendary lore. That was in our legendary lore of Commander Legends.
Yeah, our original run, I believe, was the first time we did legendary lore series.
The one that actually wasn't League of Legends, despite me distinctly remembering it being Legends of Lore.
Now, what's important is that we know eventually Dakkon dies because the Blackblade gets passed on to Gideon, who gets it and fights against Nicol Bolas, and all that stuff happens, right? Well, then we get to Geyadrone Dihada. Joe, can you guess what happened to her?
Is she in the Blackblade?
She left Dominaria right before the Phyrexians started invading.
Oh yeah, she's blue.
And so people of Dominaria talk about her like she's Voldemort. And they're like, she could come back. She could still be out there.
Because she who must not be named.
Yeah, because she's got that Elder Dragon power going on from those olden days. Even losing her Old Walker status and just being a normal Neo Walker, she could still have immeasurable power and be doing whatever she feels like the entire time. And the main reason that they think she's still alive is because, remember how I mentioned Solkanar, the Morrow sorcerer thing?
Yes.
The spirit of the forest that became a swamp. Well,
spirit of Massachusetts is the spirit of America.
He's still around. He's still alive. Solkanar is wandering around, and people are saying, hey, if she was dead, he would have been restored to being just a normal Morrow sorcerer because like her corruption would have left. And that's why they think, is it still happening? Is she still around? Could she come back if she felt like it? What is she planning? What is she scheming? And obviously, it could just be that her corruptive influence is so powerful that Solkanar is just permanently corrupted, and people are just superstitious, which obviously could be the deal. But this is magic, and if they really, really wanted to, they could
bring
make
her
it.
in as a villain.
Exactly. So that's
I would love that.
That's really cool. And like this is the whole arc basically of Dakkon Blackblade, where there was a series of comic books which were really cool, and I mean they weren't like high quality, I'd say, but they were nice pulp. And
they weren't Fortnite 0 point.
Yeah, pretty much. But that was the story of Dakkon, Carth the Lion, Dihada, and also technically Piru, even though she was kind of a footnote.
Piru.
Joe, take it away.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to go ahead and catch you guys with the next Legendary Lore. We hope you loved it because there's more to come for Modern Horizons 2. Get your packs. Let us know what you get in the comments down below. Let us know what you want to see for Legendary Lore in the comments down below. We'll see you guys in the next video.